So they opened up, they took out a grapefruit-sized tumor,
Yeah.
and you don't know much about what happened then, except you were running about and getting caught and being put back and the like. Um, then what happened? You kind of settled down a bit.
Well, yeah, I woke up and hadn't seen my dad in about 5 years, and he was sitting right beside my bed.
Where he's from out of the province?
Yeah, he's from Dallas, Texas.
Okay,
So he's vice president of a company, and instead of being at work like he is all the time, he decided to just come up to Alberta and make sure I was okay. And he stayed for a week, and everything looked a lot better.
Yeah, well, that must have been something. What was your relationship with your father before that?
Wasn't the greatest. And I think a lot of the argumentation had to do with what was going on, and also, I didn't have much family around, so I never had any support in what I was trying to do. Getting my kids back. And,
You had a pretty lonely time.
yeah, yeah, and it was after he left, there's a whole bunch of things that happened at the hospital because all they were doing was leaving me in the hospital, which was probably a good thing because I was living on the street. They left me in the hospital so I had a place to stay. And then they were going to move me over to the cancer hospital to move on other procedures, right? And so, yeah, it was quite a time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what a thing to wake up to then, having a father who you're a little estranged from sitting there, and he spent that week with you. You remember all of that. You're
Yeah, I
not having
certainly do.
memory problems now.
Yeah, no, I'm functioning quite
You're
well.
functioning quite well. So where are you in the treatment phase of all of this? Because removing the tumor is one thing, and now there's a whole bunch of follow-up and protection measures that they're going to take so this doesn't get repeated. So what did they do, and how did you respond to that biologically? And I understand now you're taking a different approach to.
Yeah, I certainly am.
Okay, let's talk about all that.
Well, initially, I was there for a radiation treatment. Okay, so I don't think anybody's really aware. I had an MRI previous to it, so they wanted to see what was there.
Previous to the removal of the.
Well, to the MRI. No,
To,
yeah.
oh, I see.
They had a CT scan before the surgery,
Okay.
and then they did an MRI after the surgery.
All right, and they're looking for what they didn't get.
Yeah, and they got 99.9% of the tumor, which was amazing. But after that, I heard a lot about what cancer does, but that's I won't go there yet. So what happened was I ended up waiting for radiation for a while, and then I took 6 weeks of radiation. But from what I've heard, it wasn't required for brain tumors because there's not much they can do. But I guess they were trying, and all I've noticed so far is that I lost hair growth on the side of where my tumor was removed. So, and they didn't do an MRI until about 3 months after the radiation treatment, right? And initially, I was on. They've changed me a few different types of pills for this. The first one, actually, when I came out of the hospital, they did help me financially, and I found a kind of a group home to live in for a little while.
This was the government of Alberta?
Yeah, the government of Alberta helped me quite a bit. They have a thing called AISH.
I know AISH.
Yeah, so I'm on AISH, and a lot of people have a hard time getting on AISH in Alberta, and it was proposed to me right away. It didn't take very long at all, and they helped me quite a bit find a place, and so I moved into group home. I moved out, and actually one of the things that changed quite a bit was when I was going through radiation treatment, I wanted to look on what other people had to say about cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried on the computer at the hospital, and there was nothing available. You'd go on there, type in, brain cancer, and the page was, you weren't allowed to go on
Oh,
that
really?
page. Yeah. And the only thing I could do was go on Facebook and play games. And that was about it. Or check my Hotmail.
Did you ask questions about that? And if so, what did they say to you?
Well, not really. I was, the whole time I was at the hospital, I was always on my tippy toes about them.
Sure.
I started not to hunt, like it was my personal view, but I didn't believe in everything they said. But it was hard to, especially, I was very emotional, so whatever they said did touch me at the time, right? I did have a reaction to everything they said. And so when I left, I started to do a lot of research. Initially, I didn't change much. Before I left, my doctor at the cancer hospital actually came up to me, and he told me that I probably wouldn't make it past a year.
Really?
Yeah, he thought I was going to die quickly.
In spite of the fact that they got...
Yeah, they got
99.
a lot of it, but I think they predict things, and with the growth that was happening, they look at it their own way. But it's also, I don't know, they have these established treatments that I'm not a big fan of anymore after my research, right? And so, yeah, like, I was stressed out by this. So initially, I didn't change my diet or anything, and I got home to this group house, and I'd go out and buy like ribeye steak, and I'd eat Oreo cookies with 4 liters of ice cream, and just to try to enjoy my life. I was going to make it for another year, I thought, right?
Yeah.
And so why bother? Try to enjoy life. And so I went back for my first MRI. That was 3 months in, and it grew. It grew a centimeter, right? So the initial one, the grapefruit size, was 12 centimeters by 8. So we already came back. So the 1 year projection looked about the same as what was going on. And then I started doing a lot of research in alternative medicine, and they changed my chemo pharmaceutical drug, and so the second time it worked better. My diet hadn't changed much, but I had done a lot of research, and I went to university before. I worked in the oil patch, so I know how to do research.
Oh, okay, good.
So I found out a lot of information, and so the second time I went in, and it only grew half a centimeter. So the chemotherapy was actually working better, but right there, I decided to become vegan.
Right there.
Right there. As soon as I found out the result,
It was still growing, but less. But the fact that it was still growing.
Right.
Changed your mind about the...
Changed my mind.
Approach.
And so I changed to being a vegan. And and then right from there, it hasn't grown back. So I've done a lot of diet changes.
When was let's get a time fix on that. When was the time when you decided you were going to be the vegan? You had found that it had grown again. You said a half a centimeter.
Yeah.
So when was that?
That'd be April 2012.
Okay, so 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
And my surgery was November 2011.
All right. And since April of 2012, you did change your diet.
I drastically changed.
And
No more meat. Well, I'm not sure if everybody's aware what vegan is. It's very close to vegetarian, but you eliminate all anything to deal with animals.
Including milk.
Yeah, milk, cheese, anything. And I also changed another thing too. Was I stopped drinking pop and juice, and I changed to alkaline water. And initially,
you really did do your homework, didn't you?
yeah, I did a lot of homework on this, and yeah, and there's a few things that I've tried to tell other cancer patients, and it's very difficult for them to understand what I'm saying or to care. So I'm not progressing in that area anymore. I'm worried about myself and taking care of my children. Right? So,
And have you had a subsequent test on that tumor? Do you know?
yeah,
whether
well, I
it's
go in
grown?
every 3 months.
Oh, okay. So what's happening to the growth on the
It
tumor?
hasn't grown. It actually shrunk because we were at 1.5 centimeters.
Right.
And then, so what's happened since then, it went down to 0.8. So it shrunk quite a bit.
Wow, by half.
Yeah, by half.
Wow.
So, and then it's very difficult in the brain to do anything. And I think we're actually lower than that because it kind of looked like an egg. So it shrunk to 0.8, and then there was only a little bit left on the inside. So, because it's hard, there's not much, I don't think there's any circulation in your brain. So, whatever's there will stay there, right? Like in other parts of your body, it could circulate out.
The brain is a very, very protected organ in our body.
Yeah, that's right.
It behaves a little differently. So let's back up. You've had some success, it appears, with changing your diet. What was it like to change your diet? You were a meat eater, an Oreo cookies eater, a pop, and you made the switch quite quickly, or did it take you some time once you made the decision?
I did it. I had the reaction right away, right after the MRI results.
You just needed motivation.
Yeah, but actually, what happened when I was younger, I was working at a place making chicken wings, and when I was 12, I worked at this really busy rock and roll bar, actually, which I guess was different in the 80s. I was allowed to do that, and I worked there for about 2 months, and I actually got so sick of the chicken that I stopped eating meat and became a vegetarian for a while.
No.
Yeah, I didn't want nothing to do with it. Actually, I know my uncle owned a farm and hurt my feelings to see this, to see animals, die about, our food. So even since then, I kind of did some research on, what's important for humans to eat, and, it's a lot of my recent research, confirms that we don't need to eat meat.
Now, let me describe you a little bit to people who can't see you. This is the radio. For one thing, you have a tremendous smile. I don't think you've stopped smiling since I came to the door at the residence that you're staying at here in Salmon Arm. And you have clear, sharp eyes. You have a lot of energy. You're slim and fit looking. And I would just say you're a happy-looking guy with a heck of a scar.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Were you that? I mean, you've given us some of the story. You were sleeping in the streets. You were down and out. You were in stress. You didn't look like this then.
No, certainly not. But for a majority of my life, I did.
Okay.
I was always, I was a senior supervisor in the oil patch. I like traveling around. I was on TV in grade 3. Actually, I was on TV in Ontario. Yeah, I've done all kinds of things. So I've always been. I've been open to talking to people about stuff, and I've been open to life. And one of the major things too is I think that your attitude has a lot to do with your health.